Welcome back to Epic Exchanges and the third in our Choosing Ourselves series. It is so easy, especially as women, for us to get caught up in caregiving everybody else in our lives, our kids, our partners, our parents, other relatives, maybe even our grandparents, and even our friends. And we can do this to the point that we actually run out of time and energy to take care of ourselves, which is why we are talking about this, why it's so important for us to remember to choose ourselves. And along those lines, I am really thrilled to have our third guest with this subject, Cheri Paragi. Did I get it right? Yes.
Yes, you did.
Okay. Cheri, and to have Cheri share her story and tell us a little bit about how she learned to choose herself. So, Cheri, welcome. Why don't you tell our audience a little bit about yourself?
Well, thank you very much for having me on today, Kelly. I really appreciate it. Um, I'm Cheri Paragi, and it's been a road, kind of like a roller coaster of a ride to get to where I am today. Um, I am a medical mom. Let's me full and foremost. I have two kids with special needs, and you talk about the burnout. You get to the burnout where you're just sitting there just crying, like, how am I going to make to the next moment? And as my daughters got older, I obviously grew with them, but I also got to the point where I knew I had to make the choice of putting me first. And that's where it leads me more to where I am today. So right now I am an entrepreneur. I own my own business. I just finished my first year and a half of my business, which is exciting for me. And so that's just a little bit about myself right now.
Well, thank you for sharing. And now we're actually going to ask you to dive in and tell us more about your story and how it brought you to where you are today. So why don't you just go for it?
Okay. Um, I had my first marriage to my ex-husband was not a healthy one. Um, I remember the girls being very young. I mean, my youngest was a baby, and I have two daughters. Was the oldest was 4, and we were locked in the bathroom. And I was like, nope, I'm getting myself out of this. I've always been a strong person, very resourceful, and they were both special needs and complex medical children who are now young adults. And so that within itself makes things complex, very complex to manage. And so that marriage ended. That was a long, drawn out battle, but it teaches you skills through life, like everything else, right? Um, but I did get remarried, and he helped me understand that, there's more to me than being a mom. And every time, you take a step forward, it's like two step backwards because you're waiting for the next shoe to drop, especially with my youngest daughter at that time, because we were basically in and out of the hospital for years on end. And you kind of grow this um, packed around moms who have kids who are similar or in the medical need, and you see each other often in the hospitals or different events and stuff like that you are a part of. And I'm like, I'm more than this, and it gets so heavy. And I was, when I turned 50 was a big one. And I was like, my kids are in their 20s, or one was 20 in her 20s and one wasn't yet. And I was like, there's more. There has to be more. I mean, I have a background in art, but I don't want to sit there and paint again. I want to do something with my hands. But I want to do something for me, because I got to the point where I couldn't make a decision for myself. I couldn't, I couldn't even go to the grocery store and decide, like, should I get that or should I get that? And then when people ask about who I am and what I do, I'm like, I'm a mom. Um, Even though being a mom is a lot, but you know, plants. I love plants. I love my plants. I love my birds. I love, all these other things that I have had to go back and rediscover, like had to go back and learn this music really fills my soul, or just playing and getting dirty with my hands with paint or whatever. This some is something else that really fills me up. So it really, there's two songs that actually um have helped push me forward, because music really helps guide me in that regard, and I really make me on my quest to a my self identity and what is really important to me, and to be able to say, this is me in my heart and soul, and lead with my heart. And then that led the gateway to my business, which is all encompassing and earth related. um, yes, I am a earth sign, and so I do get filled up by being outside and amongst the earth elements. So I just felt that, healing Mother Earth and giving back to Mother Earth is also very important. Um, which is another part of my business, is paying forward too. Um, now, I was working with a coach, for many months, and really trying to figure out, like, what's my next step, who I am. I mean, and that's how I started. I mean, she would give me assignments all the time to, like, okay, try this on. How does that feel? How does it feel, like, in your stomach? Because that's where you need to really feel things, and and not just up here. It's a whole shift in your way of thinking. But it really came clear to me that I wanted to do, it's called GemMe Wands, the name of my business. When I was sitting outside, it was the perfect, beautiful 80-degree sunshiny weather, and I was loving my plants. And I was talking, the squirrel came up to my feet, and my squirrel and my squirrels in these backyards loved to get my plants, and we have arguments every year, all year long, over this stuff. I mean, the squirrels and I, we have conversations. But the squirrel was at my foot. And I was like looking at my plants, making sure he didn't dig anything up. And the birds were singing and playing in the bird bath, which makes me laugh. And I love it. And I'm like, crystals heal your plants. And he's looking at me like this. And I'm like, crystals heal your plants and help them grow. And that's how GemMe Wands kind of came into form. And it just was like that. I mean, like the wind was blowing, the tree, trees and everything was just like the universe was actually speaking to me. And I listened for the very first time in my life. So that was very profound. I have goosebumps just thinking about it, um, for me. And realizing that, no, I don't have to paint. I know I don't have to do anything traditional. Um, and I know this stuff because I've loved crystals for my whole life. In fact, my aunt, who has long since passed away, um, she introduced me to crystals when I was very, very, very young. And so it was just kind of like coming, back to me in that way as well. Um, and so it was just nice to create GemMe Wands, and it's evolved, since like my idea and involving copper, because copper is your conduit. And my husband and I were fighting over that Thanksgiving. He's like, I don't understand this business. And I'm like, what do you mean you don't understand? And then he's like, why aren't you using wood? And I'm like, I don't know. And just that type of thing. It was kind of funny. But that's also your earth element, bringing it in there as well. So and he's grown and developed since then. But I mean, it's great. I mean, it's really giving me a way to reignite my creativity, and I just love it. I mean, I just love it. And I love it when, you make the connections with the community and finding the right people to connect with, a new community that understands me. And I don't feel like I have to be somebody else, or I have to, like, oh, I got to rush off and, my kid's going in the hospital or whatever it may be. Yeah, I mean, that does happen, and that will always happen, and things like that do happen. But but I have this now as a business. It has been a significant shift for my family. It's mom's not there all the time. Mom's not, always available. And I do close the door and shut my phone off and everything. And they're like, but mom, wait. Um, no, this is mom's time. Mom's in her timeout space. Um, so that's cool in that way for them to learn to respect me for who I am too. And it's also given them more of an opportunity to grow as themselves and find who they are. Yeah, that's basically it. I mean, for now.
Okay.
I mean, this
There's
story
so
continues to go.
there's so much in there, but first, I'd really like to kind of go back.
Okay.
So here you are in the midst of caregiving for your kids as they're growing up, and as you said, in and out of the hospital, and how your circumstances kind of created your community in that there were other parents, other moms in the same boat. You'd run into them maybe in the hospital or at medical appointments or whatever that might be. What's the moment, if there is a moment, that you remember being like, there, you said these there's got to be more. There has to be something more. So what's that moment? What was it that kind of made you go, this isn't all there is for me?
Um, it was around 20. I gotten my master's and I was working at a healthcare agency. And to be transparent, I got let go because my daughter was going in the hospital for the fourth time that year. More than that, but more than fourth time that year. But I mean, because each stay was like 4 weeks or more, and you're there. I mean, with what she has going on, whatever. I mean, that's not the point. Um, and I was sitting there and I was like, okay, this is a sign, first of all, that the traditional world is not my realm. There's also something that my kid needs to look at me, or I want my children to look at me and not just go, well, she's fading away and doesn't, have anything. Um, because your kids grow up, right? And so, but you don't want to cling on to them and hold them back. And then
Right.
where, I mean, it was really like late night in the hospital. Like when I was sitting there and I had caught a nurse giving my daughter a medication that she's allergic to. And I was like being like a pilot mom in a way. And I was like, you are not paying attention. You need to pay attention. Pay attention. Okay, that's like what I kept saying over and over. And I was angry at her, but I was also angry at myself because I wasn't paying attention. And then that's like when I just sat down, because I mean you're sleep deprived. And I just started writing, pay attention, pay attention, pay attention, pay attention, pay attention over and over and over on in this journal. And I was just crying. I mean, I was just crying. And I was just like, there has to be more to this. There has to be more to like, okay, I got to make sure I'm here for whatever. And trust that my family, my kids, and everything will be okay. I need to go off and do this. I will still be here, but I need to go do what I need to do.
What
And it's
does it mean to you? That phrase has struck a chord with me, maybe because you repeated it so many times, but what does it mean to you to pay attention? What does that look like on a daily basis?
how I act, how I show up in my day. I mean, don't lie in bed all day. Get up, shower, brush your teeth, get dressed. Um, and not just be in the pajamas and I'll slug around and do whatever. Cause yeah, I mean, there's points that I was actually doing that. Um, because, go to a doctor's appointment, who cares, but, and paying attention to different signs from the universe. And my guides and angels all talk to me. I know this now. I ask them, I talk to them, and I'm like, please show me a sign, please show me a way, or whatever it may be. Help guide me so I'm on the right track. And so I pay attention to those signs, but I also pay attention to, so for example, Hope Kids has played a significant part in our lives. Um, and I know they're a nonprofit. I know that nonprofits have a hard time. I know what they gave to us as a family. So I know that 3% of all my sales go back to them every quarter, no matter what. Um, in addition, there's different things that happen around the world that I know, like if there's medical supplies that my daughter is not using, I will donate them because the place where we get them from, they can't take them back in there, but I can donate them other places. That is how I pay attention. That's one of the many ways. Pay attention to how I can be a better person. Pay attention to how I take care of myself. Um, and my fun. I mean, fun? What's that? Um, so then just I had to relearn what fun was for me and not just like, okay, go, 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 go till you burn out, you crash and burn. Is it really my laugh that I'm feeling? Is this really something that is me, or am I doing this because of somebody else? So that is paying attention for
I
me.
think that's a great reminder. And I would love to know the whole fun thing. It's been a theme for me, right? Like have more fun. Well, but what is fun? What do I find fun? Where do I find joy? All the questions, like it might not be what it was when I was in my 20s or my teens or as a child, even. So, how do you rediscover what you find fun?
I actually went back to like what I absolutely loved when I was younger and found that, you know what, this makes me sick. Um, and I mean, for example, um, having a glass of wine here and there or whatever, I now break out in hives from that. Do I know why? No.
Mm,
Any alcohol or anything like that. So, you know what? That's fine. I don't need it, but there's a reason my body doesn't want it. So there, that's a sign because sometimes you have alcohol or whatever to, glass or whatever to relax at night and and chat or whatever. No, that's gone. Having a hot cup of tea, that's it for me. Um, so that's something. Is that fun? No, but have I found that as a way to relax and realign? Yes. Um, music, fun. I love music. I love my music. That just gets me down to my soul. Um, is it always the music that my husband wants or I hear my kids listen to? No. Um, have I had to go back and go through my playlist and go, you know what, this isn't for me. This was on my playlist because so and so was in my car or so and so recommended it to me. I went through and deleted over half of my playlist. And then continue to listen to different songs. Now, I can tell you, my youngest daughter and I love certain bands now together, and we're going to like two big concerts together this spring and summer. And she's hilarious about it. But that's like a whole new connection that we've never had before. Um, but she also gets moved by music too. Um, which is fun to see. Um, but just going and being like hearing like a local band. I mean, and supporting them is monstrous. I mean, and just being there amongst other people, um, and feeling the movement and energy, that is just that rocks my soul. And I love like rock music and all different types of music. I'm eclectic, but it's really fun that way. Um, there were so many years, I had to take piano. It was like the requirement growing up. So anything like classical and all that stuff, I'm like, no, I don't want to hear that. Um, but yeah, so I mean, there's like things I've been trying like that. And then there's like movies. Okay, so I like movies. I do love going to movies. I'll go to a movie myself. I don't care. I mean, because Mark's like, my husband is like, I don't want to see that, or this is a chick flick, or whatever. And I'm like, I don't need you to be there for me to do that. Or just going out to eat with a friend. And I choose where we go now. I don't just say, well, I don't care. Or just going over to their house and hanging out and having fun and just talking and being with people and talking. That is where I love it. I love just the community and talking.
I was just going to say, it sounds like it's about making connection, not only with yourself, but with others on your terms, not the
Yeah,
terms that are prescribed to you by being in the hospital with your kids or whatever it might be. It's like, what do you choose to do? What feels good? What fills you up? And what brings you joy? And joy is such, I always find joy is a hard word because I don't think that we understand true joy well enough to know what brings us joy
right.
on a worldwide basis because we spend so much time scrolling social media and social media does not bring anybody joy.
No, it doesn't. I mean, I do have to step back and say I like the positive statements and stuff, and I will save those. Um, because then they're a reminder for me to look back on the positive statements. The positive statements are huge for me. Just as a reminder. So, kind of like flipping the switch and you get like on things. But yeah, absolutely. Connection and people. I mean, even if it's like on Zoom or what have you, because everybody doesn't always live in the same city anymore. I mean, that's big. That's really big. I mean, just seeing somebody's face and talking with them. I love that. I mean, our phones are, the walking computer or what have you. So I shut my phone off. I can choose when to reply to a text. I can choose to reply to emails. I don't have to do things right away.
Right.
And I like how I can say I can choose. That's been a big one that I'm not like jumping, like, oh no.
Yeah, I think that giving ourselves permission to find community where we want to choose for ourselves, even the I can choose, whatever it might be, however any of us fills in that sentence. I mean, it's a full sentence on its own, but I can choose to go to a movie by myself. I can choose the restaurant. I can choose the music that I want to listen to. Um, it's such a good reminder that that's super important as we learn to choose ourselves because we do give so much of ourselves, especially as parents, and even more so when our kids are younger, because it kind of consumes everything. So
Well, and I
as we,
think as women, it's
yes,
like ingrained in us. Like, when my husband was out of work for 2 years, my mom was like, Sherry, you got to take care of him. You got to make sure that, he has XYZ. I'm like, "Ah, Mom, I'm not like June Beaver. What is it, June Beaver and Leave It to Beaver or whatever? I'm like, no, that's not me. That's not this world. Those days are gone. He has to learn how to stand on his own 2 feet, just like I do. I mean, yeah, we support each other, but no,
yeah. Now, you did mention early on that you have a background that you went to school for fine art and art. I'm wondering how you use art now to tell your story, to help other people tell their stories, whatever that might be.
I went from Okay, so I graduated college in 94. All right, so I'm really gonna like date myself here. But I went from about 1992-ish until about 10 years ago without touching anything. I mean, like, yeah, I would doodle on the paper or whatever. Um, but yeah, I mean, or like at restaurants, when they have crayons that you can color with, I would color on the, that stuff. And I would color with my kids and paint with them and stuff. But because I felt like that experience is very important for them. I'm a huge advocate for that, even when they do it on your walls. Um, but it took me a while to be able to feel comfortable and know that there is no judgment with it. Um, so for me, I went to like one of those sip and paint, event things, and I was like, I really don't mind this. Kind of like this. So I bought some canvases and some acrylic, and I'll play with it and like do the mixed medium with it. Um, and keep my animals out of there, because they like to make sure that they help out. So that's how I use it. I use it with, I've been writing a little more. I've actually written some articles this year, which has been another way for me to express it through art. Um, that was also stepping outside of my box, my wheelhouse. Because I used to write more when I was very, very young. And then I was like, no. I mean, obviously you have somebody who like, knocks you off your pedestal. But that's how I use it. And then I've just been exploring different techniques. I've been thinking about, oh, well, I can add like maybe some paint to like the wood or something that I use. Like, I don't know, I just have some driftwood here, like driftwood or something. But then would that take away from the natural aspect of it? So, just like different things I play with. Um, but I mean, I like getting my hands dirty. So, it's a lot with the paints and stuff that I've been doing. And and like the crayons and color pencils and different stuff like that that I have fun with.
I
Just
think that's really,
experimenting.
I think that's the key when we're talking about anything to do with our story and any way of expressing our stories is to learn to have fun with it because it doesn't have to be the heavy, the emotional, the yes, people connect to the vulnerable and to us expressing our emotions and how we maybe felt, but also how we feel now when we have found the gift, the blessings, the new us,
Yeah.
the joy in ourselves. So if people want to find you, follow you, find more about how you are using art and the natural world through crystals and wood and copper and all the things to help express themselves, how can they do that?
Um, they can reach me two ways. Well, they can go on my website, which is www.gemme, GemmeWands.com. Or they can email me directly at Cheri, Cheri, at GemMe, GemmeWands.com. And I do, private one-on-one time with people. And I do have some things on my website. I do have, a shop on there and everything, but lots of things are being developed and in the works right now. So it's so exciting what's exploring.
Awesome. I love all the pretty shiny things myself. So I'm attracted to all kinds of stones and yeah, all the bling. We will share all your links on our socials and on our show notes so that people can get in touch with you easily and they don't have to have written that down if they're driving or something. So
Yes, yes,
thank you.
absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank you
you.
so much, Cheri, for sharing your story and for being willing to come and talk about this important topic of choosing ourselves and learning how to do that.
Absolutely. I mean, this means the world to me because it's made a huge difference in my life. And if it just touches one person, that's all it needs to do.
Exactly. Thanks again.
Thank you.